This is United Network News with Sunny Galt, Calen, Kimberly Gogan, and our field messengers from around the world. Here's today's real news.
Are master's degrees really worth it? That's a question many people find themselves asking in today's rapidly changing job market. Some may argue spending years pursuing a master's degree is unnecessary, while others believe it gives you valuable skills and credentials that can lead to better jobs and higher pay.
The Foundation for Research on Equal Opportunity, a U.S.-based organization, found nearly half of master's degrees don't pay off financially, while 23% of bachelor degrees failed to deliver a positive return on investment. That number jumps to 43% for master's and two-year degrees. Field of study is the biggest factor in financial return. Degrees in engineering, computer science, and nursing have high returns, while fields like education, fine arts, psychology, and English often have lower returns. Graduate degrees in medicine and law perform well, but many master's programs, including MBAs, don't add much value. The study shows starting salaries are strong predictors of lifetime returns, and the quality of an institution also matters, with some schools being better than others at turning low-paying fields into high-earning careers. For example, a Harvard MBA often leads to better job opportunities than one from less prestigious universities.
Is a Harvard MBA actually worth it? I graduated from Harvard Business School in 2021, and my salary going into business school was about $125 at a healthcare company, and coming out was $165 for a starting base. So when you think about it from that perspective, you're losing 2 years of income, and that's not that big of a salary bump. So if you think from a short-term perspective, it doesn't look like the math is worth it. Where I do see the value of the MBA is really, I see it as the ultimate insurance policy. In one of my first jobs out of business school, my job ended up being doing layoffs of hundreds of people for one of the companies I was working for, and I hated it. Where my HBS degree came in handy was when I could see it was time to go, I immediately reached out to my network. Within days, I had interviews with dozens of startups in spaces that I was interested in, and so I had an easy way and an easy plan to move on. So for me, the value of the MBA a couple years out has been that I don't need to feel stuck in any job. I have a lot of flexibility.
In 2019, the Institute for Fiscal Studies, the UK's leading independent economics research institute, found 1/5 of undergraduates would be better off skipping university. They studied master's degrees with surprising results. By age 35, master's graduates earn no more than those with just a bachelor's, even when accounting for their backgrounds and prior achievements. In some fields, the returns are worse. British men with master's degrees in politics earn 10% less by their mid-30s than those with only a bachelor's. For history, earnings drop 20%, and for English, nearly 30%. Many pursue advanced degrees for careers they enjoy, but know will pay less. Others, uncertain about their path, drift into master's programs, often earning less than peers who start working after their bachelor's.
Master's degrees are absolutely useless, and if you're thinking about getting one, don't. College is phasing out, not in, and if you haven't realized that you literally don't learn anything useful in college by your fourth year and you want to do a fifth, you're already in trouble. Employers do not care what you learn in college, and in most cases, if you're doing a master's degree, you're going to look stupid and not smart. Employers really only care about three things: the school you went to, your grades, and where you worked last. Once you graduate from college, employers know based on the school you went to and your GPA reasonably about how smart and successful you are. If you do well, you should have the opportunity to work some pretty impressive jobs, and you should do so immediately because that's the only place you're actually going to learn by doing. And if you instead decide to go for a master's degree, you're going to look really stupid because employers don't value it all. They would rather hire someone with 2 years experience than with an additional degree because that person actually knows how to do the job.
Trade schools are becoming a popular alternative to traditional colleges, as skilled trades are no longer seen as inferior career paths. Trade schools have gained recognition as gateways to rewarding in-demand jobs. Unlike traditional college degrees, Trades like heating, ventilation, air conditioning, plumbing, and welding offer competitive salaries without the burden of student debt. They also require less time and money to complete certifications. More young people are choosing trades for financial stability and the chance to start their careers early. Many programs even allow students to gain skills and certifications in high school so they can begin earning right away. Choosing between trade school and college depends on your goals.
If you want to be a doctor, go to college. If you want to be a lawyer, go to college. There are certain career paths you need to go to college for.
Yep.
But if you are trying to do daily stuff, really look at it.
Are you going to be a salesperson or go to trade school?
Right.
Because the trades are making a lot of money. And the more industrialized and the more computerized all of our society gets, the more value that the trades have.
It's like master plumbers, master electricians,
welders.
Yes.
There are things that machines and computers cannot do.
Right.
And those things are getting more and more valuable for the people that do those things.
In the end, deciding whether a master's degree is worth it depends on your personal goals and career ambitions. Follow your passions, but be strategic. Consider costs and future earnings. Look into scholarships and financial aid to make education affordable, and choose a school that offers the best value. Balance passion with practicality to make the right choice for your future.
Today we experience the enchantment of Stockholm's historic Old Town, steeped in centuries of history and culture. UNN Field Messenger Susan takes us on a journey through Old Town at Christmas time.
This is Susan reporting for UNN in Stockholm, Sweden. Welcome to Old Town, the heart of Stockholm and one of Europe's best preserved medieval city centres. National Geographic recently recognized Stockholm's stunning archipelago as one of its top 25 travel destinations for next year. But did you know that Sweden boasts the most islands of any country in the world? And where better to start that adventure than right here in historic town. Gamla stan dates back to the 13th century and is steeped in history. Once a vital trading hub, its vibrant yellow and terracotta buildings hold centuries of stories, from Viking tales to both royal bloodbath and coronations. Today, this charming old town invites visitors to step back in time while enjoying modern-day delights. If you're visiting Gamla stan right now, you're in for a treat. The traditional Christmas market at Stortorget is in full swing. Warm up with a cup of glögg, Sweden's spiced mulled wine, or savor a freshly made waffle top with cream and jam. So whether you're planning to explore Sweden's countless islands or just want to experience the magic of Stockholm, why not start your journey here in Gamla stan? History, culture and holiday cheer awaits. Reporting for UNN, this is Susan.
Ever heard of acrylamide? It's a chemical that forms during certain cooking methods, and it's been sparking concerns about potential health risks. The problem is it's found in a lot of foods, mostly in plant-based foods like potatoes, grains, and coffee.
Acrylamide has likely always been in cooked foods, though it was only discovered in some foods in April 2002. It's not added to foods. Instead, it forms naturally when using cooking methods such as baking, frying, grilling, toasting, and roasting. It's also rarely found in dairy, meat, or fish. Also, organic food doesn't have any less acrylamide than non-organic food. It's all about how food is cooked. The higher the temperature and the longer the cooking time, the greater the levels of acrylamide that can develop. Acrylamide doesn't naturally occur in cooking oil, but can form when starchy foods like potatoes are fried, especially if the same oil gets reused over and over. At home, this isn't usually a big issue unless you're reusing oil in something like a fryer. In the food industry, though, daily oil use can lead to harmful acrylamide levels. Regularly replacing the oil is key to keeping it safe. Acrylamide is also produced industrially for making paper, dyes, plastics, treating water, and is also found in everyday products like caulking, food packaging, and adhesives.
Acrylamide is a very toxic poison. It's like a plastic, causes cancer. It's in a lot of pet foods. It's in our foods. It's in, well, not our foods, maybe some people's foods. French fries, potato chips, toasted bread, cereals. Cigarettes actually have 3 times the amount than actual food. And even coffee. Now, if you consume dark roast, you'll get less of it than a lighter version because apparently the roasting breaks down acrylamide. But the question is, where does this acrylamide come from? Well, it comes from the combination of consuming high carbs, glucose or fructose, with an amino acid called asparagine under high heats, 248 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, you're not going to create the situation if you boil things or steam them, but it's basically just a combination of these under high heats creates this toxic plastic substance that then causes cancer.
You can be exposed to acrylamide by eating high-temperature cooked carbohydrate-rich foods, breathing secondhand smoke, drinking water near plastic or dye plants, or working with acrylamide-containing products, which may involve skin contact. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention say acrylamide primarily affects the nervous and reproductive systems. High levels of exposure, often experienced by certain workers, can lead to symptoms like muscle weakness, numbness, unsteadiness, and clumsiness. However, most people need to be exposed to levels high enough to cause these effects. When it comes to cancer risk, acrylamide has been linked to several types of cancer in animal studies. While human data remains limited, major health organizations such as the International Agency for Research on Cancer, the European Food Safety Authority, and the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency classify acrylamide as a likely carcinogenic to humans based on animal research. If you're concerned about potential exposure, acrylamide levels can be measured in your blood or urine to determine how much has entered your body.
We know that acrylamide causes cancer in rats and mice in the laboratory. We know that it interacts with the DNA, with the genetic material in the cells, and because of what we know about acrylamide, it's probable that it could also cause cancer in people. The levels of acrylamide that are present in our diet are higher than we would be comfortable with. We would prefer them to be lower. And so that's why the Food Standards Agency is encouraging the industry to try to reduce acrylamide levels in processed foods. And we wish to raise awareness amongst consumers of the things that they could do that might help them to reduce their exposure to acrylamide in food.
Because it's naturally occurring, acrylamide has always been present in our food and always will. But the longer and hotter we cook food, the more acrylamide there'll be. So knowing that, we can all take steps to reduce our acrylamide intake. First of all, go for gold. Cook food till it's a golden yellow colour, no darker, because it's the process that makes food brown that also leads to higher levels of acrylamide. If you're cooking pre-prepared food, then follow the instructions on pack for cooking and reheating. Third, eat a balanced and healthy diet. Varying your diet will help you manage the levels of acrylamide. And finally, don't store your potatoes in the fridge. And that's because in the cold, potatoes undergo a process called cold sweetening that increases the level of chemicals in potatoes that are the precursors for acrylamide when you cook them. So your potatoes, take them out of the fridge, store them in the dark, store them cool, but above 6 degrees.
The European Union has regulated acrylamide in food since 2018, including guidelines for selecting, storing, and cooking ingredients to reduce acrylamide levels, with specific standards set for different food groups. In the U.S., the Environmental Protection Agency regulates acrylamide in drinking water, setting safe exposure levels. The Food and Drug Administration oversees acrylamide levels in food contact materials, but according to the National Cancer Institute, There are no specific regulations for acrylamide in food itself.
During the Christmas season, towns across Italy create magical displays called luminaries, featuring different themed objects that light up the streets. UNN Field Messenger Maya takes us on a journey of celebration through her town.
Hi, this is Maya, a field messenger for United Network News. Today I am reporting from Gaeta, a coastal city in central Italy south of Rome. In this report I would like to share Gaeta luminaries, where different sea life statues are illuminated around town and in the parks, and a water fountain light show and fireworks at the end. Gaeta is a beautiful coastal city in central Italy, south of Rome, and also a U.S. Navy base. It is home to Monte Orlando Park, a protected area with Roman Empire ruins, Mediterranean vegetation, wonderful beaches, and dive sites. Every year before Christmas, many towns and cities in Italy decorate the streets, squares, and parks with illuminations called luminarie. Part of the town also hosts very colorful Christmas markets. The tiny houses, which fill the narrow streets and alleys with Christmas lights, ornaments, and music, transform the town in a fairy tale. Gaeta chose the sea as this year's theme, with sea life illuminations around town. The San Francesco water fountain transforms into a light, music, and dance choreographies. At the end, a colorful fireworks bring cheer to the already warm and cozy atmosphere to keep in our hearts. Hope you enjoyed the illuminations in Gaeta, and thank you for watching.
Life can sometimes feel like a whirlwind of schedules and responsibilities, especially when raising kids. That's where free-range parenting comes in. It's all about giving kids the freedom and responsibility they need to thrive. While it can build independence and resilience, there are also concerns about safety, the potential for judgment from others, and ensuring kids are truly ready for the responsibilities they're given.
Free-range parenting is all about giving kids the freedom to explore and learn while still keeping them safe. It's about trusting them to take on responsibilities that match their age and letting them figure things out without hovering over them all the time. Supporters say this doesn't mean throwing caution to the wind. It's more about finding that sweet spot between keeping them protected and letting them spread their wings. For instance, letting your kid walk to school on their own might feel nerve-wracking at first, but free-range parents say it's a great way to help them build confidence and learn how to make decisions on their own.
What's the easiest way I can describe free-range parenting? It's basically letting your children experience the world and learn lessons through their experiences with the world instead of trying to teach them lessons. So, in other words, my kids, even in the winter, they only want to wear shorts. They only want to wear short sleeve shirts. I'm like, okay, I could argue with them about wearing shirts and make them wear weather appropriate clothes, or I can let them go outside and wear the clothes they want to wear, and then they get cold and then they put on a jacket. So, basically letting them do the things that make them feel fulfilled and feel good for their body, obviously within reason. I'm still very strict, as I'm sure you can imagine. But this, I'll allow it.
But where do you draw the line? When does independence start to overshadow safety? Free-range parenting has also been criticized as being risky or neglectful. Some worry it leaves kids vulnerable to accidents or harm, especially in today's world where stranger danger is a constant concern. In 2015, parents in Maryland in the U.S. were investigated for child neglect after letting their 10 and 6-year-old kids walk home alone from a park. Child Protective Services got involved, claiming the kids were in danger even though they hadn't been harmed. The case sparked a debate about free-range parenting and whether giving kids more independence is irresponsible or an important life lesson. Several states in the U.S. have started creating laws to support free-range parenting, aiming to clarify when parents are overstepping and when they are just encouraging independence.
Yes, we have 4 states with these free-range parenting laws: Colorado, Texas, Oklahoma, and Utah. This first one in Utah was in 2018, and it was on the heels of several parents across the country who were getting arrested for allowing their kids to be independent. This couple in Maryland dealt with CPS investigations and arrests for years for letting their 10 and 6-year-old walk home from the park. Had an increase in neighbors policing each other and the state policing parents. So these free-range parenting laws have come about as a response. Here's Utah's law. So basically it says permitting a child whose basic needs are met and who has sufficient age and maturity to avoid harm or unreasonable risk of harm to engage in independent activities, including, and then it lists all these activities. And I know you're saying, oh, well, it still says you have to consider the age. Yes, but is a protectionary provision instead of a vague prosecutable provision. Vague laws designed to protect parents better than vague laws designed to prosecute them.
Free-range parenting looks different around the world, depending on culture, safety, and laws. The UK is a bit more like the United States. They're more cautious, with some parents facing legal issues for letting kids roam unsupervised. However, in places like Sweden and Denmark, it's pretty common for kids to be encouraged to play outside by themselves from a young age. The focus is really on helping them build independence and confidence. It's not unusual for kids to head out to play on their own or even explore their neighborhood without constant supervision. In Japan, children start taking public transportation alone to school at an early age. It's a pretty big deal because it shows just how much trust there is in the child's ability to handle things on their own. Free-range parenting isn't a new idea. It's actually how a lot of us were raised. We used to play outside all day, walk to school alone, and roam the neighborhood without a second thought. But over time, media coverage of rare, high-profile crimes involving kids has made many parents more cautious. With 24/7 news and social media, it often feels like the world is a lot scarier than it used to be.
So do you think when we grew up, we were obviously less restricted? I mean, our moms would say, okay, go out and play, right, be back by dinner. Why don't people do that anymore?
People don't do that anymore because when my parents were raising me, they could not reel off the names Elizabeth Smart and J.C. Dugard and Amber from the Amber Alerts because the stories hadn't become sensationalized. Local news was still local. And so because the media loves those stories because they get the biggest ratings, those are the ones that inhabit our brains and we start being afraid. Once we're afraid, then everything tumbles from there. Then you start getting neighbors who are afraid because you think your kid is safe in the front yard, but they see your kid playing and they think, that mother doesn't care. Doesn't she realize? I had a woman write to my site who said that she was on the lawn with her kids, but she was reading a book and a lady came by and said, put down that book. Don't you realize your children could be snatched at any minute? Okay, that's the kind of neighbor that then calls the cops or CPS. So if you're living in a society like that where everybody is turning into the KGB in terms of your parenting, it's very hard to trust yourself, trust your kids, and trust your community. But I'm saying we have to.
If you're considering free-range parenting or any other style, try easing into it and see what works for your family. Every kid is different. So what feels right for one might not work for another. Start small. Maybe let them walk to a nearby park or stay home alone for a little while and talk to them about how it went. The key is finding a balance that makes you comfortable as a parent while helping your child grow and gain independence.
UNN Field Messenger Lana shares her heartwarming experience of witnessing a newborn moose exploring her yard in Anchorage, Alaska.
Hello everyone, it's Lana, Field Messenger with United Network News in Anchorage, Alaska. Welcome to my front yard. This spring we had a beautiful visitor, a young moose and her newborn baby calf. It looks to be only a day or two old as it's still pretty wobbly. This little guy will stick close to her for 5 months, and then as the mom goes into heat this fall, the young will start to fall behind and follow her. And by the time it's 2, it will be able to have its own baby. Moose have calves every year for up to 25 years. I spent a couple minutes out there videoing, and then when I came back in the house, I was watching and noticed a magpie came and started to harass the baby moose. Soon after, the mama came charging up the road fast. I mean, she appeared so quickly. It was good that I was not out in the cul-de-sac at that time because I would have had to run behind a tree and hide. Because she came and she scared that magpie away, and she was not having anything to do with that bird. They spent a lot of time in our front yard, and I was able to catch some pretty good pictures and videos from my deck and my front window. At one point, I was able to go out and film the baby moose when the mom left it safely in the cul-de-sac and went to feed across the street. I was able to film quite a bit of this little adorable baby moose, and if you listen carefully, you can hear him or her talk to me as I approached. I hope you enjoy the videos and stills I took of this amazing animal and her newborn baby.
Are you ready to change the world? Take the next step and join our weekly Field Messenger meetings. Learn more at unitednetwork.earth. I am United Network News, and so are you.